design, and now in visual arts. So yeah, what is Gallery Genesis? This gallery was established in 1981, long before I was born, by my mom, Patrice Salas. It was primarily to provide an exhibition, again, for living artists. And today, in keeping up with the times, we have shifted 360 to digital platforms. I think it's one of the things that we learned during the pandemic, right? Moving towards the digital age and going online, whether it's virtual exhibits, virtual shows, virtual selling. So that's what we have been focusing on. So we're based in Ortigas Center. We're actually here in Manila in Ortigas. And right now, because of the pandemic, we're only doing private viewings. So if any of you would like to see any of the paintings, just let me know and we can definitely cater and be that for you. And at the end of our talk, we're also going to be having 2 raffle giveaways. So I hope that you guys can stay until the end of today's session. One will have 5,000 Genesis gift card and the other one is 10,000 pesos. So this is good as cash for the gallery. So you can purchase any of the paintings as long as it doesn't go against our promos. And I think everybody here, right, Mr. Oliver, will be participating. So good luck. Good luck to everybody. I hope that you get to win. So let's get started. We'll be talking about dynamics of art investment. It's really just going back to the basics of what is art and how do you buy it. So it's before buying an artwork, what are the basics, that I need to know? What makes an artwork good? Why are some paintings so beautiful for others? Bakit sometimes it's like, what is that? Why would I pay so much money for that? That doesn't make sense. And also, of course, determining price range, if it's really worth that investment and when you'll get your ROI, if ever you will. So before buying an artwork, what are the basics that you need to know? Number one, of course, it's important to get a familiarity about the artist. So before you buy an artwork, it's good to get to know the artist, the background, the sales history, the career level, if it's just a new and emerging one, or if it's already, an established artist. If you have the opportunity to get to know the artist in person, that would be great, and then get the feel of what the artist is like, because you always learn a lot from them. So that's one of the most important things that you should consider if you're going to buy an artwork. The second one would be the subject matter. So of course, the subject matter will generally go down to personal preferences because sometimes, there are subjects that sell better than others. So in the Philippines, of course, one of the trending or one of the most famous subject matters usually are related to Philippine culture. Anything related to being a Filipino, the streetscapes, the things that you usually see on a day-to-day basis. So for example, here we have this beautiful painting. This is by Rene Canlas. It's in watercolor. And you can see, right, that it's not just, an entrance. It's not just a door. It's not just entrance of a church. You have there a kalesa and you have there a man selling taho. So it's the way that it was put together and in this beautiful painting that makes it really beautiful for some who kind of resonate with it. So you also have to ask yourself, is it visually appealing to you? Is it the kind of painting that you would like to have in your living room or in your bedroom? So sometimes it can be subjective, but then again, that's part of the process of looking into art. So we have here just like a random a fun trivia, which of the artwork that you guys like, if you can chat below in the comment box, which you prefer, 1 or 2. So the first one, we have parang aparador. So if you're into that kind of subject matter with the very detailed things that are put into it with that shapes and lines and colors, or if you prefer something simple, with the floral design, like the one that we have in number 2. So I just wanted to get a feel of what you guys like in your subject matter. The third one is the size. Of course, before buying an artwork, it's also important to evaluate the size of your painting, right? So for example, if you're looking for a space here that's really this big, it wouldn't make sense to just get a tiny piece that wouldn't really make full use of the whole wall. It would be great to get a painting that is in the standard size, sometimes 21 by 29 inches, depending on the size of your wall. Or if you want something bigger, you can do that too. So finding the perfect size at a bigger space is also very important in determining what kind of artwork is best for you. Oh, so we have a lot of sorry, you have a lot of answers. Okay, so there's a mix of 1 and 2, which is great. So it's not just all the aparador. Some of you like the floral ones. So number 4 is the medium. So just like this subject matter, there are many mediums of art, and some sell better than others, of course. So we have acrylic, we have oil. Some like to paint in coffee, if you believe. Some like to paint in other bases. And of course, we also have watercolor, which we believe is the most difficult medium. And the reason why is because it's a fluid medium, it's a moving medium. So if you make a mistake in any watercolor painting, you'd have to redo it. You'd have to make it all over again, because it's not like oil where you can just, cover it up a little bit. So watercolor is such a beautiful medium. And in our gallery, really place high regard for this. We have a yearly competition called Kulay sa Tubig. This is a watercolor competition wherein we have so many artists who join us every year, right? This year, I think we had about 300 artists who tried to enter. So just to give you a sample of how amazing watercolor can be, here are some samples. You have one here that's the first one, the marbles, and then you also have floral. So imagine making that artwork using watercolor and not being allowed to make any kind of mistake, right? That's like, wow, that's real talent right there. So it's always impressive. I meet a lot of artists every year, and yet I still get impressed every time I see paintings like this. So the 5th one is the technique, of course. So it's a different, actually the technique itself is a different discussion altogether. I can name all the techniques, you would go on for days. But really, if you buy an artwork, technique is also another quality that you should be looking for. So we have here an example. This is a painting by Joey Pabelando, and he's using the raindrop technique. So he actually spoke about this in one of our talks that we had in Gallery Genesis. And he mentioned that what he does is he does the painting first. So it's really those 2 kids that he did, and that they were carrying a basket, because he saw this in real life. And then once he was finished with the painting, that's when he added the raindrops, the effects. And that's what made the painting unique, right? That technique itself. So, artists have different techniques all the time, and you will be able to see just how they create an artwork and make it their own. I think that's really beautiful. Number 6, we have provenance. So of course, provenance, the stronger the provenance of an artwork, the better. It pertains to the history of the artwork itself. So syempre, if you buy an artwork, you would want to know, right? San galing yan? How old na yan? How do I know if that's real talaga? Where will I get proof? So I think one of the best recommendations I can give you in purchasing an artwork is always ask about the provenance, maybe ask for a certification of authenticity, ask where it was acquired, if it was directly from the artist, or kanino ba yan nabili, or from another gallery. So those things you can consider when you look at the provenance of a painting. Okay, so that's it for buying an artwork. This one, we have a short segment called Lost for Words, right? So these are just some tips that I would like to share with you. For example, this is asked for us a lot of times. So if for example, you go to an art exhibit, you go to a museum, and you don't really know, or to an art show, right? And you don't really know how to start a conversation about art. So parang, I don't know what I'm gonna say, because I might not say the right thing. So here are some tips that you can start the conversation with. So you can just ask the person right beside you, so which artwork captured your eye the most? Yan, di ba? Para isipin nyo, wow, sobrang galing na to. Or you can ask them, what is the most striking impression for you from this collection? And why do you think the artist painted this way? So if you ask somebody that, you're gonna sound like you know exactly what you're talking about. So these are some advice that we usually give to our art webinar attendees. I hope that if you go to a museum, you'll say this to the people that you meet over there. Just a shameless plug, if I don't know if you guys, if anybody here, if you have Instagram or Facebook, but if you do, please follow us. We're very active on social media at Gallery Genesis, Genesis Art Club, and Genesis Art Digest. Okay, so going on to the next topic, we have what makes an artwork good? So how do I know if it's the right art for me? We're gonna take this in a very, I know I'm gonna try to make this as short as I can. But the issue of how you can see if an artwork is good, it's been a debate since forever, right? And there are many theories that have emerged to proving how an artwork is in fact beautiful. So one of the theories is called formalism. So this theory dictates that art is good when it effectively uses the elements of art and principle in design. So that means that if an artwork has good shapes and lines and colors and texture, and if they were put together well, then you know that this painting is really beautiful. It's one of the fundamental ways to tell, right? It's one of the theories, at least. So we hear this a lot. The discussion again of elements and principles of design is pretty long. And if you'd want to learn more about it, just message me and we can talk about that. The next theory is mimetic, so also known as imitationalism. This theory claims that artwork is best when it imitates life. Wow. The more realistic, the better, diba? So if you see this painting, grabe, sobrang realistic niya. You can see the emotion. You can see the sadness of the woman, right? The feelings that are emerging in her face. And so actually, my mom, she has very high standards. So when I tell you that she does not get impressed easily, I am not kidding. She really does not get impressed easily. But when an artist tried to join Kulay sa Tubig and showed us this painting, we were all like in awe talaga, diba? So if you look at this painting, talagang imitation of real life. For some people, they were like, is that even a painting? That looks like a photo. How it was made, how it was put together, the detail, the intricate details that was used, diba? So that pertains to mimetic and how you can relate to reality. This is also from the same artist, actually. So again, you can see how beautiful it is and how it was made. And lastly is emotionalism. So the emotionalism theory places emphasis on the expressive qualities of an artwork. If the artist is able to elicit a feeling from the audience, then the artist has created an excellent piece. So it's really no different, if you're going to the mall and you're like in a room full of people, and then all of a sudden you see this really beautiful girl, diba? Parang mapapalingon ka talaga, parang wow, ganda naman yung girl niyan. Parang it's really gonna catch your attention. So it's the same thing. It's the same concept. You go to a gallery, you go to a museum, you go to an exhibit, and you're in a sea of all these paintings. And then you see one that just kind of makes you stop walking and you're like, wow, ganda. Then you know that the artwork is doing its job. It's an excellent piece because it made you stop, it elicited a feeling, and you see that it's really beautiful and makes you felt like, wow, I appreciate this artwork. So this is an example of that painting where it makes you feel a certain calmness. I feel this one, I'd like to know your input as well for anybody who would like to comment in the chat box how this painting makes you feel, if it elicits any feeling, because as you can see, there's a lot of emotion involved, and the way she looks, the way she's thinking of something, the way she just puts her mouth that way, right? This is also one of our winners in last year's Kulay sa Tubig competition. Oh, time check, 9:16. Okay, noted. So lost for words. Other questions that you may want to ask a random person that you see in the museum. Who is your favorite artist from the exhibit? What works from the past remind you of this artist? And why do you think this exhibit was presented this way? Yeah, so these are like these are conversation starters that might help you get a conversation going when it comes to really getting yourself involved more in the art community or just learning more about different kinds of artworks. Next, we have determining the price range, if it's really worth to invest this much. What are the things that you have to consider? Again, we're going to just do the general basics of this part. So number one is intrinsic value. So the intrinsic value is measured by how unique, irreplaceable, and sacred the work is. So are you the only one who has that painting? Are you the only one who has that collection? Nobody has something like that. It's not a duplicate. Nobody has other prints or copies, right? So if you have one that's not owned by others, then you know that it's a good purchase because it's yours and it's limited. Second is the market. So is it hot or not? Another factor determining the artwork's price is the art market. So of course, the art market, like anything, it changes also, right? Timing is very important. There's sometimes it's just really sells. You can buy it at a very low price, and years from now, you can sell it for a high price. And I guess one of the best example is Prudential Amorosa. So my dad is an avid collector of this. And when he bought these paintings, we have some paintings of Loma Rosa. They were at about 5,000 pesos, 5,000 pesos, if I'm not mistaken. And now their price range goes from anywhere between 500 to 600,000 pesos. So, I mean, it gives you an idea that if you have also that patience, of course, to wait for that time lapse to go in, then you will really be able to invest on a beautiful painting. Next is supply and demand. So art is inherently unique because there's a limited supply on the market at any given time, especially if you're talking about an artist who, you know, makes paintings that are very limited. Like, ganito, at this time lang niya ginagawa. At this time lang ganito yung gagawin niya. And then he changes na design again. So it's the same concept for emerging and old artists. And lastly is buying what you love. Of course, what we learn here at the gallery is that every painting has a matching buyer. So what's nice to you can be ugly to other people, and you know what's ugly to you can be really beautiful for others. But it's important to remember that if you decide to purchase an artwork, you know, and you find it so beautiful and others don't really appreciate that as much. But then you put it up in your wall and you get to appreciate it every day, then wala kang lugi. Yun na yung ROI mo. Kasi you get to appreciate something so beautiful and that it fits you. It's exactly something that you would like to see every day, every morning. Very aesthetically pleasing that makes your house, you know, more beautiful as well. So if other people, they really find it as beautiful, that's fine. They don't have to put it, you know, in their living rooms. You can have it in yours, in your room. And then later on, if you decide to sell it or when you decide to sell it, alam mo, hindi ka nalugi, hindi ka nadaya. Kasi na-appreciate mo na siya eh. Na-appreciate mo na siya during that time it was with you. So we have another random set of artworks here. I'd really like to get your take on these two artworks, right? Kanina kasi puro realism na yung mga paintings that we were looking at, very emotional. So this one, let's go with a little bit contemporary, a little bit abstract. I'll reveal the artists of these later. But for now, if you can just comment in the chat box what you think of these pieces, that'd be great. So the first one, oh, is it clear? Is it clear? Yeah, the first one. And then the second artwork. Okay, yeah, so we're getting some responses, so just keep them coming. We'll read all of them later. Okay, time check, 10 minutes. Okay, so who can I talk to if you want to learn more about you know, artworks, about art itself, the industry? Of course, you can talk to art collectors, art curators, art enthusiasts, art historians, and designers. But how do you find them in the Philippines at this time where, you know, it's very difficult, right? Well, actually right now, the art community is shifting again to digital platforms. So you have Viber communities, Facebook communities, Instagram communities that really just cater to people who like to talk about art, who buy and sell art, want to learn more about art. And that would be your best option. And so what should you avoid when you talk about art? Maybe that's something that we can also discuss just very, very briefly, right? So first is being a critic. So sometimes if you go to an exhibit and you criticize everything so loudly, you would really affect the other people who are there. So it's best to just kind of observe and listen and see for yourself before you go criticizing every piece in that exhibit. And number two is don't gatekeep, right? So art is for everybody. It's not for just a limited amount of people who, if you find them, they're not educated enough. That's absolutely not true, right? Art is for everybody. And that's why you have like museums like the National Museum, Ayala Museum, right? All those museums that are open to the public, because they want Filipinos to be able to go in and really appreciate the talent of Filipinos. Because I mean, let's face it, right? Filipinos are very, very talented. You have singers, you got dancers, you got artists, you got interior designers, you got engineers, all of them related in the field of art. And so there's really no point gatekeeping and limiting all the discussion about art to just a certain kind of people. And third is going out of topic. Of course, people want to talk. If you're at an art event and an art exhibit, you want to talk about art, right? You don't have to talk about other things like politics or other business related stuff. It's something that we hear a lot in our art discussions. Just really remain on the topic about art. And lastly is asking good questions. I think this is something that my dad really, really taught me growing up, that the only way to learn more about art is to ask good questions, because it doesn't even matter in the art industry. It doesn't matter how established you may be, like if you're very intellectual or if you're very well known, there's still a lot of stuff that you can learn from other people, especially from artists. So if you have the chance to be with them and be able to ask them a question, go ahead, ask them, why did you do it this way? What's the story behind this artwork? What's your next plan for your next exhibit, right? And it's always there's always something new to learn. I think that's also very similar to your TED talk, right? The fact that you guys constantly have different topics here, that's the idea, to allow everybody here who are all very intellectual already to learn more about other stuff. So where can I learn more about art? We're ending soon, so I just wanted to share with you where you can learn more about art. Our gallery actually right now, because we're again in an online setting, we have a lot of art webinars that we host. And so for this month, on November 19, we're going to be having another art webinar about abstract. And for those of you who want to attend, just let me know. We're going to be giving you 20% for all the attendees of your event. And if you want to share it with somebody else, that's fine too, as long as it was referred to by you. We would love to give them and invite all of you here. So thank you so much for staying with me and for listening about our talk about art of dynamics. I hope that you learned a little something with me today. And I don't know if we're going to be doing the raffle right away or if we're going to do Q&As first.
Later, Q&A first. We'll go to Q&A.
Oh, sorry, I just saw the chat box.
Yeah, it's all right. There's a question here, Patrice, from
Yes?
Dr. Axel Sukalit. Axel, would you like to ask Patrice about your question? Well, Axel was asking about the feng shui aspect of a painting, Patrice. If if you think that there's some people who think of some artwork bringing good luck to your house or something. Is that?
Yes, actually, my dad. Yes. I think more than the artwork, it's also where it's placed in a room. That's also very important. I think I forget. Yeah, where it's placed in a room, where it's facing. That's also important in feng shui. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with feng shui, but I know that somebody will kind of place the room together, and then where the paintings are faced, it's also important.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, if you want to stop share, Patrice.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello.
Sige. So there's another question here from Aiza Ridal. What are your thoughts about art being integrated to blockchain or crypto?
And yeah, aka NFT art.
Yeah.
Well, it's very new. Of course, in the Philippine setting, it's very new. It's something that's just being talked about. So I think that there's still a lot of things to explore in. But eventually, I do believe that it's going to be pretty big in the Philippine art setting. NFT art, yeah, something that we can probably a topic to altogether to have a discussion about. Right,
Yeah.
that'd be interesting.
Bernard,
Okay. Any more questions from the?
they have
participants?
Bernard, Kabats, how active or
Okay.
liquid is each art market for works of non-master living artists?
How active liquid is PH art market? Despite the pandemic, it's actually very active. Filipinos are still collecting. A lot of Filipinos are collecting, buying from art galleries and art auctions. Some of the auction pieces go up to 30, 35 million. Of course, those are the established ones. But yeah, so far even in the pandemic, Filipinos are constantly buying paintings.
Okay.
Art is so therapeutic. I agree. I agree with that. It's therapeutic. It's calming in a way.
Abby, or Kabats artist? Any questions, Bob?
uh, because I work with different mediums. I work with glass, and I do a lot of technical execution work. It's just that so I'm in a different thing. I do technical execution works for some other artists like I'm Don Jaime, and I do work for National Museum, Ayala, and Ateneo, all of those things. So,
Question.
and then the question is, what about the other mediums and wood, glass, stone, resin? What I noticed was the exceptionally beautiful pieces in watercolor. It's practically the most difficult medium to handle. So I was wondering about the sculptures and in some of the more physically demanding material like glass, stone, metal.
Yeah.
So I wonder how the thing is proceeding now.
Yes, yes. Actually, you're right. A lot of those mediums, those more physically difficult to make mediums like wood, sculptural pieces,
Yeah.
are very beautiful. But they are also getting to be more popular because, for example, this year, if you guys were able to visit the Manila Art Exhibit, grabe ganda dun. They had different mixed medias. So it's not just limited to paintings, not just limited to 2D visual art. You also have sculptures, like amazing sculpturists. For example, Isabelo Tampinco. He's also in the National Museum being exhibited there. So he's one of the most renowned sculptors in the Philippines. So in terms of talent, if that's what you're pertaining to, sir, yeah, definitely it's not just about the 2D acrylic, oil, 2D paintings. It's also other mixed media that are getting more and more popular in the Philippine setting. You have also those who create furnitures that are also being
My
exhibited now.
friends, sila Benji,
Yeah, that's good.
Benji Reyes, and those guys.
Furniture, they sell a lot. Actually, even in auction houses, they are selling for a lot now. And collectors look for these pieces, especially if they are uniquely made and intricately made with like there's one limited edition pieces.
Okay, so anyway, that's all.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, I have different viewpoints.
Yeah.
I'm the technical worker.
Worker.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sige, Leo.
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 Patrice, you were talking about the investment in painting. Now, how do the different medium differ? Like, for example, the watercolor and the oil. How long will the watercolor last? Will it be decades, several, just like the oil medium? So how can we compare if we invest in the art painting?
Yes, thank you for your question. Actually, yes, there's a misconception about watercolor that it does not last as long as oil and acrylic. But of course, this is already proven to be not true talaga. It can last for years and years if as long as you store it correctly, as long as it's as long as it is sorry. So as long as it is being stored correctly and preserved right, then it can be kept for years. So in the Sistine Chapel, it's actually been there for 100 years?
Centuries.
Centuries. And that's
500.
watercolor. That's watercolor. That's pure watercolor. But they do, of course, they just paint over it. But yeah, in terms of storage and everything related to it, it can last as long as oil and acrylic.
If you use the same kind of canvas, like for example, in the painting, there is a standard form of canvas there. And if that's what you use in the watercolor medium, it can also last.
Yes.
That's it?
Yes, sir. It can also last if you use just pure watercolor paper or if you use a different kind of canvas. Again, as long as you preserve it correctly, then it can be stored for years and years. And in one of the things that we all have this talk about art investment. It's also great to invest in storage. It's important to invest in storage if you're really trying to collect like big amounts of artworks. It would be good to
okay.
invest in storage.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
I have another comment on how to select artwork.
Okay.
If you walk into the show or the gallery, whatever makes your heart stop is the one you should get. It gives you a heart attack. That's the one you should go for. If you want to store it technically for a very long time, you can talk to us. We make those microclimate controlled storage things for the National Museum and for those things, okay, for those 12 million peso maps. But the only gauge I use or when we go and see shows is that makes your heart stop. That's it. Then open your wallet.
Yeah, that's good advice. If it makes your heart stop, open your wallet. That's the next step, basically.
Yeah.
After you felt like, wow.
So yeah, congratulations and thank you very much for the show, for the presentation.
Jerry, you have a question?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Jerry, you have a question, Jerry?
So Patrice, we're not really big art collectors, no, but we do have paintings at home and we're starting to buy some for a house. But you know how a Filipino home is, diba? I mean, it's usually hot because generally mainit sa Cebu, no? So what are your advice for people who are starting to buy paintings? What are the parang for the dummies like us, diba? Dummies are trying to buy these things. What are the things to watch out for or to be careful of so that our paintings would last?
Yeah. Okay, well, if for example you're purchasing a lot, I think number one would be make a list, a good list of your inventory. Get all the details as much as you can and store them rightfully, because that's the last thing you want to happen. If you have a beautiful painting, you store it somewhere and you can't find the certificate of authenticity, you can't find any documentation. So make copies, make a lot of copies, make sure you have actual files, you have digital files. That's something that you would never want to happen. It's like a nightmare. In terms of storing at home, well, if you have something like acrylic and oil and you want to display it, you can actually display it. But if you're going to keep it, for example, in a separate room, you can have it wrapped. You can put it in the tube and have it wrapped also in bubble wrap and just keep it there with you.
I'm sorry, I have to intrude.
Yes, sir.
If you do, just a suggestion for Jerry. You will most probably buy more than you need. So please prepare a space that is a bit dark and dry to be able to store some of the paintings, and prepare to shift and recycle and move these things around in different parts of the year. So that is what we have advised to some of our friends who do collect, so that there's such a thing as ultraviolet lights, and there's humidity and temperature factors that you have to consider in your home. If it's Cebu, it's a bit humid, then you have to work on that. There are things that you can buy from Ace, like desiccants and those things. You could prepare it for your storage room. But please do prepare for one. Medyo madilim, medyo tuyo, medyo pantay ang temperature. That's all. Thank you. I'm sorry to intrude.
Oh, thank you so much. I agree with what he said. We do have a separate room actually that you can just put there. And if you want a separate place, a separate building that's outside your home, you can have that. I think somebody is raising their hand.
Yeah, can I speak?
Okay, Butch, please.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, Patrice. A wonderful presentation. Now, I just have a question. I inherited a painting, just one actually, not many. I inherited a painting from my father. Now, the funny thing is that there's no signature in the painting. My sister, who was the one who had it reframed, told me that the signature is in the back. Does any painter put the signature in the back?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity.
Yes, there are actually painters who don't put their signatures on the painting just so that it wouldn't affect the painting itself. They would put it at the back or in a separate certificate, but mostly in general, they do paint on the actual artwork at the bottom right.
Okay. Now, this painting, not that I intend to sell it, no? I mean, I don't think I'll sell it. It's something which I remember my father for. This painting used to belong to the bank where he worked before. And when they opened their head office in Makati, they bought from renowned artists at that time. This was in, I think, 1980. So he was the one who chose this painting. This was in his office. When he transferred to Cebu, he brought it with him. And when he retired, he asked it from the then president of the bank. So now I have it. I'm not so sure if it's a luz. It looks like a luz. I mean, an Arturo luz. It looks exactly like a luz, but I can't verify it. It has no certification, and there's no signature. And just a ballpark figure. How much would a luz cost now?
An Arturo luz right now. Well, you're not yet sure, right? How?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Really not sure. It looks like a luz. It looks like his trumpet. A musician playing a trumpet. That's exactly how it looks.
Do you have a size of the painting? Do you
Um,
know generally how big it is?
I measured it before. I can't remember the size. It's pretty big. Probably 40 by 24, something like that. 39 by 24.
Oh, it's pretty big.
It's oil, and it looks like it's palette knife. That's how it looks like to me. I'm not an art connoisseur, no, so I wouldn't know. It looks like it was applied with using a palette knife and not using a brush. That's how it looks like. And the colors are so subdued, typical the usual loose. I find it dark and how do you say that? It presents for me it presents a depressing mood actually. I like colors. This painting is really
Pretty
dark and
depressing.
subdued. Yeah.
It's pretty depressing. Well, Arturo Lucis right now, I think I'm not. You're honored to have you with us today. I'm not quite sure regarding the price of an Arturo Rus at that size, but let me check on that and I'll get back to you because I wouldn't want to tell you right now the auction prices
Yeah,
and I might be wrong.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I could
understand.
get your email address so we can chat.
Um, I'll just send it through Viber, Patrice.
Yeah.
I don't have
Oh.
I don't have email. I don't give out my email because I don't open it. So that's why I never give my email address to anybody. I never open it.
It's good that
Probably,
you have Zoom. It's good that you have Zoom.
yeah. I open my email probably once or twice a year. My Facebook account, I open it maybe once or every 3 months. So this is the only social media I have.
Oh, that's-
Actually.
I'll Viber you. I'll Viber you.
Yeah. I'll give you a copy of the picture.
Yeah,
And by the way, shout out to your dad. Thank you. He gave me a painting last year. Very
Oh,
beautiful.
really? He's here. He's watching.
Yeah, shout out to Ernie. Yeah,
He would
wonderful
probably
person.
know how much an Arturo Luz is. I should probably
Yeah,
get.
okay. I'll send you a copy, a picture of the painting. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Patrice. Wonderful,
you.
wonderful presentation.
Nice to
Really
meet you.
wonderful.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
Sige.
So,
Yeah.
Patrice, I have a question about old masters.
Wow.
What are the chances that one can still find, undiscovered works by masters? Because I have a friend who lives in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, he went to this yard sale in flea market. Thank you, Butch. In Virginia, and he discovered a painting, and he just bought it out of hand for $75, and it turned out it was an Amor Solo.
Holy cow! Yes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and I think this was about 10 years ago. So interesting. My question is, are there still, for the old masters, are there still undiscovered or works of art that are out there?
Yes, I would suppose so. They're definitely undiscovered artworks, but during circumstances like that, again, it would be best to always have them authenticated, have them.
Oh yeah, it was. He brought it to the Philippines.
He had it
Yes.
checked, really, and it was.
He bought it for $75 and sold it here in the Philippines for like 3 million pesos or something like that.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
But this
That's
was like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
So he
that's-
was just, he got lucky.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it does happen, but on very, very rare occasions, because usually if that would happen to somebody else, it would probably be a fake or, just like a duplicate. So if that
Yeah.
person, your
It
friend,
was authenticated, yeah. And to have found it at a flea market in Virginia.
crazy. That's crazy. I wish that would happen to me, but if that happened to somebody, then they must be really lucky, I mean, what are the chances, right?
Yeah, and to have recognized it as an Amor Solo in the first place.
And he had it authenticated in the Philippines.
Here, he brought it home to the Philippines, had it authentic, and sold it. Yeah.
Wow, that's rarely happens. It would, but again, very, very rare circumstances. Usually it would be a fake that would really unleash itself. But for your friend, good job at finding that masterpiece. Yes, but I think we're okay. Would you want to do